Greetings, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this podcast from all over the world. The Table of Redemption. It is the leadership redemption resilience framework in action through storytelling. The name of our season is Building Bridges of Hope and Redemption in Crisis, Harvard College Edition. I'll be using the pillars of the leadership redemption framework to bring commonality, weave threads, and figure out what we all have in common to bring us into unity in this world that seems to divide us. And you're going to see some great things happening. I am your host, Rasheen Jamison-Richardson, consultant, coach, lecturer, artist, researcher, and you're also witnessing me become a podcaster. Today, I have with me my first podcast guest, Malaika Ogukwe. She is an alumni of the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and she is in Building Bridges Part 1, Voices in Leadership on Leading with Purpose Against the Odds. Malaika has an astonishing story. And above all the things that she talked about in her interview, one thing that touched me and one thing I want to touch you, she says, I know the darkness I've seen. She's very creative, very intentional about bringing light and hope, and I want her to do that to you today. So my opening question to all my guests is, so Malaika, what brings you to the table redemption?
Well, first, thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited to be part of your journey in this way. Um, what brings me to the table is the conviction that pain can be transmuted into beauty and power. I life has been my life in particular has been a journey. I am someone who unfortunately, um, lost my parents when I was in undergrad. Both my parents transitioned within a year and a half, just under a year and a half of each other. And I became the guardian to my youngest sister. There are three of us. And from that point, I took on these new responsibilities, right? And I was hurting, right? Like I don't think you can understand loss until you've been through it yourself, and losing a parent so young, losing both your parents so young. I don't think many people can relate to that experience. And so it was a really challenging time, just to put it lightly. But even as I was navigating this new world with grief, this new world of loss, there was something in me that believed and understood that my experience was part of something bigger than myself. And that inkling, that, little whisper, that gut, sensation kept me moving forward and said, you know what, okay, every day I'm gonna keep showing up. I'm going to keep breathing. I'm going to keep waking up. I'm going to keep opening my eyes in the morning. And I sit here today about to graduate from the Harvard University.
Honey, Harvard Graduate School of Education.
Come on, come on. Ah. And to see where I am today, I look back at the past versions of myself, and I just hold so much gratitude for the hope that they carried, the belief that, okay, things are really rough right now, but this is for something. And I think that belief has allowed me to connect with people in ways that I never imagined that I could, because I was able to and continue to cultivate this hope, cultivate this imagination that life can get better despite what your present circumstances and conditions are. So that's what brings me to the table today.
What brings you to the table is the humanity in you that knows how to turn pain into power
Mm.
and turn powerful moments into beautiful moments.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm hearing you correctly, that once we are here at the table with you today, we're going to unpack that throughout the entire session. What you have described also is one of the first components of what drives this show, resilience.
Mm-hmm.
And that level of resilience sometimes is a bright light, sometimes it's a small night light, sometimes it's just like a pin needle light, a little laser light that you're pointing. And my question to you is, what are the key factors that help you as an individual bounce back from the adversity? So you
Mm-hmm.
talked about mom and dad passing away. You talked about taking care of your three sisters. You talked about able to rise above so many other things. But then now we want to know, how did you do that? And the way
Mm-hmm.
and how did you do that is going to help us understand what goes into being that resilient person that you are, that is about to graduate from Harvard. Duh.
Come on.
You know.
Yeah, I would say there are two main factors for me. The first is community. I am nothing without my people, nothing. And I really saw this with my mom. So, um, almost 10 years before she passed, she was diagnosed with a chronic illness, and it was not great. And the prognosis was not great when she first found out about the illness. And in that journey, watching her as a child, I saw how all of her village just came and rallied behind her.
Mm.
Wherever my mom went, she had community. She and I to this day, I'm like, how did she do it? But then I see the way that I build community, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe there isn't a word for it, maybe there isn't exact language, but she offered of her love, of her humanity. And in return, people made us meals. People took care of me and my sisters. People were giving her rides. Everyone was pitching in however they could. And I think when you think about resilience, we were never meant to do hard things by ourselves. We were
Wow.
always meant to do things in community alongside other people. And so for me, that has been the biggest thing. I can't think of how many people have fed me over the years, who have given me a ride to the airport so that I can go see this family member, or just words of support, right? There's so much power in being seen and being witnessed, and just being in good company. I think that has been so powerful for me, and we're being reminded that I'm loved. Oh my goodness, to be seen and to be loved is something that I was like, okay, I can keep going. I can keep taking the next step. So community is one. The second is faith. Um,
Mm.
Whatever the denomination is. I grew up going to Catholic school from kindergarten till ninth grade, and then went to Episcopalian school for the rest of high school. And personally, I struggled with my relationship with the church, but let me not say always, I think about 1 year into my grief journey after my dad passed, I think that's when I met God. And I met God in a state of anger. I was just like, you know what, God, I don't know what you got planning up there, but you took both my parents and it's a pandemic. Like, what are we supposed to do with all this? But there was something in me that knew, that trusted that God, the universe, source, however you define it, had something bigger in mind, and that my experiences, as tragic as they are and as painful as I still feel them, for the collective, for the bigger, for the greater good, this needed to happen in this way. And even that one, as I'm saying it, I'm still struggling. I'm just like, did it have to happen that way? But I but I hold on. I've held on to the faith. I've held on to my faith that okay, this is bigger than me, and I think that is what has helped me stay resilient in this journey. On the days that are still very, very hard, knowing that there is something beyond me that is at play with whatever I go through.
Yeah, that was so beautifully said. I want to give more context to and unpack this a little bit because what we're going to end up doing is going to the second part is purpose. First
Mm,
is resilient, then is purpose. But you touched on purpose a lot, even in
mm,
resiliency, even in that
mhm,
question. So when you talk about community and when you talk about your faith, it's a matter of just coming into one with an identity that's forming and an
mhm.
identity that for me would be a redemption in it's an embedded redemption. If you have
Yeah,
your faith in your community, no matter what you go through, that's the bounce back for me
yeah.
when I'm hearing you discuss what has helped Malaika bounce back throughout all the different things. And this is just one story moment, right? With your mom and your dad, that's one story moment. That's not even talking about what it cost you to be here, what it cost you, like literally costs, like right?
Mhm.
Um, let's go back some because I want the audience to know that you and I have already had a concept meeting, and I've already cried over you. Yeah, I can remember, but I remember mine.
Mhm,
My mom died when I was 13,
mhm,
and she left 8 children back here. She was 41 years old. And I always say 8 children, even though one of my sisters died, I never say 7 children.
mhm,
But I can tell you this my sisters, Darlene and Camille, who will be watching this, dropped out of college. They literally gave up their whole life to take on the legacy and a mantle from my mom, which she left back here for us to have. But
mhm,
also, they have literally had to give up their dreams and goals. And they were 19 and 21 when that happened. I need the audience to know not that you have arrived somewhere, like, but
mhm.
when did all of this happen? Like, what age were you when mom and dad died? What age were you when you started taking care of your sisters?
Mhm. Yeah, no, thank you for bringing it back to where we started. Yeah, my mom transitioned when I was a junior in college, so I was 20 years old. And my dad was shortly a little over a year after, and I was just barely 21. So 21 is when I became the legal guardian to my youngest sister, who was in her first year of high school at the time. And this was the year before the pandemic started. So imagine navigating grief, navigating the high school and teenage dumb. um, and the pandemic, all of those kind of combined really amplified the experience. And yeah, I was a baby trying to help another baby. I really was, I just was, it was just the three of us, me and my two sisters here in the country. So to me, it was like, well, I got to do what we got to do. I don't think there was there wasn't another thought, right? And I think I bet going back to like leaning on community, leaned in to people who can help my sister because I don't know how to raise a child. I don't know how to raise a child. I know how to guide and, offer space for her to become. And even that was a struggle because we come from Nigerian immigrant family. And so a lot of those values and traditions, as much as I knew that some of them were problematic, that was all I knew. So I had to be very mindful and conscious not to replicate those patterns of harm when I
Mm,
knew that both of us were in a particularly delicate and vulnerable position. But it's
mm,
hard. It was hard. Um, and the things weren't perfect. Things were tough for a couple of years. But yeah, a baby trying to help another baby. And
Wow.
yeah.
So that is very powerful. That's very, very important to mention because someone may hear your story and may just think that you had it easy.
Hmm.
Because sometimes when you turn pain into purpose and beauty, you literally don't look like what you've been through.
Mm-mm. I sometimes forget what I've been through.
You do. You do. That's someone to dial it back a little bit.
No, and you're
We
so right
can
for that.
capture that. We can capture that and literally document it in the earth so that next time you catch yourself talking over it,
Mm,
I want to make sure at the table of redemption we don't talk over that. We don't just get through that
mm-hmm,
this go round, right?
mm-hmm,
Because one of the things I will mention is that my thing has been disaster. And
mm,
coming to Harvard, I was trying to put all the awards. I have lots of awards. I have lots of credentials, all of that big life that I had before I went into disaster.
mm-hmm,
I was trying to do sick in my body, sick, just as sick as a dog, right? And thinking to myself, nobody's going to want to hear about that.
mm-hmm.
No one's going to see that. No one. So I'm thinking, let me just pack this away,
Right.
and then let me go and get all this glam and glitz and pictures and stuff. And as I begin to write, she wasn't there anymore.
Mm. Ooh.
She wasn't there anymore. This girl right here is the one who
Mm.
survived disaster,
Yeah.
who survived all the diagnoses,
Mm.
put pen to paper and said, let me tell you what I've done. Let me
Mm-hmm.
tell you how I've done it. And let me tell you, I got a framework that I'm coming in to build. So I need y'all to let me in. Right? I didn't say it like that, but it was just a whole vibe about me in that
Mm-hmm.
season. And then I'll make this point, right, before we move on,
Mm.
that it happened again. So when I got to Harvard, I was just so shocked I made it through those 7 years of disaster. I was just shocked.
Mm.
Deadly, deadly trauma, stroke,
Mm.
pain, diagnoses, thought I had leukemia, thought all these things about my body. I'm thinking, any day, God, you could take all the jokes away. Any day, like it's not funny anymore.
Right, like wrap it up.
Anytime. But people who know me, they know I'm a prayer warrior. They know I'm an intercessor. So if I said that, it got to be real painful. So
Mhm.
the point is, when I was coming, when we halfway through the journey out of Harvard, I said, oh, now I can just talk about resilience. Maybe I could just talk about resilience. Then when the video comes out, students survive disaster. In the middle of disaster, turn the leadership skills to Harvard. I'm like, oh shoot, I got it.
Yeah.
And God said yes.
Mm-hmm.
And you will not overtalk, and you will not undertalk, and you will not underrepresent. And yes, you will talk about disaster.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, you
Mm-hmm.
will be the face of it,
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
victim of what this takes. And so, even when your mom and dad passed away, it's still a victim impact. You didn't ask for it. You didn't ask for all of that. And one of the things my doctor said when I was coming out of having a stroke, and my doctors, as in physical therapist, was when I couldn't get my mind and my body together, and I was trying, I remember the old version of me. That's what that was abnormal. I remember the old version of me, and I was trying to get back to that. But it
Ah.
was frustrating me because I couldn't fathom what happened to me. And then the therapist says that's because you had a forced identity change.
Yeah. Yeah.
You will never be the same
Yeah.
in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Okay, so I'm just saying it was a forced identity change. So as I'm hearing you unpack your story and turning pain into purpose, into power, and the beauty of how you have done that,
Mm-hmm.
it is
Mm-hmm.
like giving you this paintbrush, is giving you this new way of trying to wade in the water, but
Yeah.
you're not drowning this time.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
not drowning this time.
I'm resonating so much with what you're saying, the forced identity change.
Yeah.
I At the onset of my grief journey, I think I saw my future, what little of it I did see. I saw it as like this black abyss, like this infinite
Mm.
black abyss of nothingness. And as I progressed in my journey and moved through that identity change, that identity shift, that abyss turned into a blank canvas, and I had a paintbrush in my hand.
Mm.
I could now be part of creating what comes next, what my life would be going forward. I've now embodied this new identity. This experience has changed me completely, and now I get to decide. You're no longer on autopilot in the same
Mm.
way. I think when you
Mm.
experience disaster, grief, loss, a big trauma, you start asking questions. Is this how I was living? Is this what we doing? Is this the life that I'm going to
This is good in my life.
live? You start making different choices.
You do, you do. And that was the main thing that I would ask myself, is this really my life? I had all these plans, I had all these
Mhm,
goals, dreams, and not to mention I'm a wife, and I'm like, well, how am I going to be a wife, or how am I going to be this? How am I going to be that? I'm a founder. I'm have these
mhm,
these awards, these crowns, like
mhm.
all of it didn't fit me anymore.
Yeah.
So what do? I just basically had to be resilient. I didn't have to, I couldn't try to go, it fell upon me. In some seasons, resilience, I was able to learn it
Mhm,
by watching someone else or by testing it out. But in this particular season, it fell upon me. I was just resilient. And that's
mhm.
what I was able to get through.
It was an
So as
embodiment.
we are exactly. So now what purpose has come out of it for you?
Mhm.
What purpose has it come out for you? And number two, how have you been able to take care of yourself? And that is the next one, well-being. So purpose and well-being. How is that? So how did that surface through this trial?
Yeah. Thank you for the question. I Purpose is such an interesting thing. I think sometimes people ask the question, does purpose find you? Do you find purpose? And I think it's a little bit of a dance where you meet in the middle. And I think originally, earlier in my grief journey, I thought my purpose. So let me take a step back. So, in addition to community and faith kind of being what helped me develop resilience, I developed and maintain a, a self-care practice, self-care, but well-being practice holistically. I got really into yoga, really, really into yoga, and it became a container for me to process my grief. And so was doing meditation, and growing up my dad had already introduced my family to holistic medicine. So some of these, Epsom salt baths, massages, lymphatic drainage, those were practices that I'd already been exposed to, and kind of doubled down on those, for myself, in my own healing. And so I really thought, like, this is so powerful. This is so helpful. Like, my purpose is to hold spaces for people, to connect to themselves through yoga, through meditation. And so, as a professional, every job that I had, I was hosting meditations, I was hosting wellness workshops. I really believe that, like, okay, I have my day job, the thing that y'all pay me to do, but this is the real work that I'm called to do. Um, and I think over the years, and especially in the last year being at Harvard, um, I've come to understand that my purpose is to hold space for joy and imagination. I have this vibrancy that comes off of me One comes from my mother. She's the OG. I've never seen anybody do it like her. But it also comes from the fact that I have been in some of the darkest corners of my psyche. So when I am like just jubilant about life, it's because I know where I've been. I know the darkness I have seen.
I know what.
I know the darkness that I have seen.
Say it one more time.
I
Oh my God.
know
Mm.
the
Woo,
darkness, the depths
woo.
of what I have seen
Mm.
and have
Mm.
experienced and have sat with.
Mm.
Because I know what that looks like, because I know that that can happen. Oh, I celebrate life. Oh, I can move. Oh, I'm dancing. I'm going for my little hot girl morning walk. Oh, I'm jumping. So many people don't recognize that joy is available to them.
Come on,
Joy,
it's my show. It's my some people. Oh,
so many people don't know that joy is available to them, that joy can be a choice. And it's not to say that, if you're going through hard times, that that isn't real. But
mm,
I had to say deliberately, I am choosing something that is going to warm my heart a little bit.
yeah.
Whether I'm just sniffing some flowers, whether I'm just admiring the clouds in the sky, whether I'm taking a really mindful sip of my tea that morning, it doesn't have to be big.
Mm,
But those moments are so precious. Oh my goodness. Again, my mom taught me all of this. My mom was sick for almost 10 years. She outlived her doctor's prognosis for 10 years. So I look at her, I said, how do you do that? Mama, how you do that? She chose joy.
mm,
She chose love. Doctors would come into her room. You would never know that she was the sickest patient on that floor because she was laughing, she was cracking jokes, she was choosing joy.
mm,
And in the world that we're currently living in, where there's all this messaging, all this noise and distraction, we need to be so deliberate and intentional about holding space for joy because the hard times are going to come and they're going to demand your attention.
mm,
It's going to come and it's going to say, look at me,
mm,
look at me.
mm,
So wherever we can, allow joy to be a choice. And I think that is in this season, what my purpose is to remind people that, yeah, like things are hard right now. Absolutely. I'm not going to minimize that.
mm,
But there is still so much beauty in this. And
mm,
it is a choice for us to bear witness to it.
mm. This is beautiful. So, to someone out here listening to what me and Malaika are connecting and bonding over, something spiritual is happening.
Mm.
Something so dynamic is happening, and I want you to grab hold of it. I want you to search within your own soul. Maybe it's a vocabulary word, like when I said to her, say it again, say it again. Something was shifting upward in my soul because she's 27, but I'm 47. I got her by 20 years. So we have one generation talking to another generation, but we don't have this hierarchy that one person can inspire another person. I'm asking you, what is the joy you're choosing? Or do you even know that joy is available to you? I'm asking also for you to marinate on how have you turned your pain into purpose, into power, into beauty, or are you just flat out bitter over it? Like, we are trying to help you at the table of redemption redeem the times, redeem the money, redeem that relationship, redeem that cycle that you've been in, and let you know it doesn't have to always go down like this. It doesn't. One of the things I love that Malaika said, that well being was tied into basically self care. Like, You got healthcare, but then you got self-care. So in my framework, I outline that as well. My healthcare is my primary care physicians and all these medicines, but my self-care is when I pick up my own weights and when I pick up my own cup to drink from. So I love the way you tied all of that in because self-care is a part of being resilient enough to care about yourself. And when we talk about purpose, we talked about why are you born? When we talk about levels of well-being, you can't get around being strong enough to do that. And when I was in the hospital and when I was going through those tough times, I was the stronger one, like your mom, to bring the laughs. But for every one person bringing the laugh, there were 10 people who literally could not make it. They literally could not make it at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes the joy that was coming off of me, I would have to dial it back because it became too bright of a light for someone who literally had the worst diagnosis possible.
Mhm.
So it is so befitting the way you wrap that into one package to say that we have joy available to us. And to me, I'm saying at what capacity limit? I'm adding to that to say we have capacities involved.
Mhm.
We have infrastructure, even in joy, involved. Infrastructure on how we're going to carry it, how we're going to embody it, how we're going to navigate this joy.
Mhm.
Because there are people who are not at Harvard. There are people who may never get in Harvard. It took me years to get in Harvard, right?
Mhm.
But we're here and we're here together.
Yeah.
So as we are coming to the part of this journey of how it's all coming together, which is the final part.
Mhm.
So I also want to include in their lifespan because you talked about your mom and
Mhm.
how now to me the question of lifespan, which is one thing we talk about, feels like to me, and you can correct me, your lifespan was given to you from your mom. It's passed down a legacy. Am I tracking with you on that?
Absolutely.
Can you please say your mom's name, full name?
Yes. My mom is Angie eBay.
Angie eBay.
Mhm.
Excellent. So what people are gonna want to know is how did you get into Harvard?
Oh.
By way of leading us to, what you're about to take from this table for yourself, what you've given us, but then what you're about to take from this
Mhm.
table for your own well-being.
Absolutely. Who I when I sat down to write my essays for grad school, this is fall 2023. I knew that Harvard, this program that I'm in, I said, okay, if it's this program, this one, it felt right. But the essay that I was trying to write I was not resonating with it for months. I started writing my application months before the deadline, and it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I felt like I was trying to, I wasn't representing myself and my journey the way that I needed to. I was still trying to fit into what I thought I was supposed to be and who I thought I was supposed to be, right? My background is in banking, in consulting. I was an economics major. So that's my professional upbringing. Um, but I knew that education was always a place where my heart always felt home.
Mhm.
So I was trying to figure out how to merge my experiences to and bring it into this space. So the application was due early January. The preceding December, I was like, you know what? I'm not resonating with this. I'm not writing. I'm not looking at this essay for a couple weeks. I enjoyed my December. And in that time that I spent away from writing my paper, writing the statement of purpose, I really reflected on what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be going into this is now going into 2024. And like I mentioned, my background is in banking and consulting, these very rigid kind of professions.
Mhm.
And I started asking myself the question, who would I be? How would I exist in the world if I showed up as my mother's daughter?
Ooh.
Yeah, I've spent my whole life as my father's daughter, doing all the jobs, internships to make my dad proud. But I never tapped into the parts of me that came from my mother, my joy, my freedom, my love, right? A lot of things that I felt like I need to compartmentalize and put to the side and only brought out during special occasions. So, in reflecting on who I wanted to be, I said, okay, if I'm my mother's daughter, who would I write this application? Like, how would I write this application if I embodied my being as someone who came from Angie? That essay was completely different than what I had written before. Completely different night and day. And it's the essay that got me into Harvard and really thinking about, okay, my mom was someone who held space for healing, for excitement, for joy, for connection. And that really is what I think the world needs right now and what I think I can help usher in. So that was that's like the technical aspect of getting into Harvard. But really, before coming to Harvard, I was living in Nairobi, Kenya. I was doing a fellowship program, and being back on the continent just allowed me to come back to myself in a way that I didn't even know I was missing.
Mm.
I
Mm.
didn't even know I was missing. I said, "Oh, this is who I've always been. This is why my mom is the Nigerian woman that I always looked up to." There's a vibrance of being on the continent and that light. I was like, "No, we need to bring that. That needs to be here. You bring it, bring
Mm.
it back here." And I think my belief that dance and movement and community can really shift the way that we experience society and the way we build society, I think has been like my guiding light in coming to Harvard at my time at Harvard, and definitely the guiding light when I leave this place.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah.
This is really powerful. This is really powerful because without you discussing your parents and discussing this conversation would not have been what it has been if you only discussed your Harvard journey.
This Harvard journey is just a stop on the road.
Yeah. And it's a powerful stop.
Mhm.
It's a very powerful stop on the road, right? But I want to paint the picture to my listening audience or viewing audience on the power of honor
Mm.
and respect and love as actual powers, not just a thing you do. Because there are people that have paved the way for you to be who you are. And there are many people that claim to be self made, and I don't have anything against that. But talking to you today was so refreshing because every time I speak, I try to acknowledge my sisters who raised me, my godmother, Pastor Cox, who is my spiritual mother, mentor. She's one of the moms that have just been with me for 24, 25 years. Because one thing I prayed when I got back from my own mom's funeral when I was 13 was I said, God, I don't know what all this means. I know what a funeral means. I saw mommy in the casket, but I sat there in the bed, in the couch next to where she was in the bed and said, but would you never leave me motherless? That's all I asked. Would you never ever leave me motherless?
Mm.
And that's not knowing that my sister, like this is the day of the funeral. I don't think my sisters knew that they would be the ones to take on all of this because it's all unfolding. You know this. You already know this. It's all unfolding. You got to get through all the steps and stuff. And then it lands on your head that, okay, Malaika's going to be the one.
Mhm.
And you turn around and say, I don't know why you got my name in your mouth.
Hello.
Kind of feeling, right? So
Right.
I'm saying that to say God keeps his promises.
Mhm. Mhm.
And for those that are listening and hearing and understanding that you when she talked about community, when she talked about faith, when she talked about she know the darkness that she's been in. She talked about being able to understand joy is one of the availabilities, it's one of the affordances to you in this time. When she's discussing both parents, and I love when she put in her about her Harvard application, the difference between her mom and her dad. It's okay if you try on both of your parents. It's okay if you don't prefer to no longer carry that mantle versus another mantle because
Mhm.
that's what parents are. They bring a mantle upon you. Mantle meaning that when they say in Harvard, we're going to dismantle systems. A mantle is like a fireplace, and then there's a mantle on that fireplace that holds the candles, that holds the figurines. Those are mantles in terms of regular natural analogy. But when we get into lineage and when we get into heritage, that mantle is something that is a cliff, something you can hang on to.
Mhm.
And it has to be strong enough to carry you. It has to be strong enough to lift you. So I love the way her parents have been there for that reason. And then, so therefore, now she became a mantle for her sisters to hang on to. However shaky or rocky it was, or is, or may be, you were that. And so I actually applaud your resilience. I actually see your purpose. I actually celebrate you with your well being. And I actually see a longer lifespan for you than your mom or dad was able to achieve. And I celebrate you also. We're both going to be walking across the stage on May 29th, 2025, as graduates of Harvard University,
Yes. Yes.
Harvard Graduate School of Education, in
Listen.
Black Harvard. Amen.
Amen.
Building.
Oh,
So I want to just ask you, so what are you actually taking away from the table of redemption? Anything you learned from me? Any new insights that you've acquired, or anything you want to just be in this moment? What are you taking away from the table of redemption?
yes. I am one, just this has been such a beautiful conversation. Like I'm feeling so full. My heart is just beaming. And something that I am walking away with this is one, just like a deeper appreciation, one for the framework that you've developed and being able to have that language to understand my experience, and being in this space to like process that with you. Um, and I'm really leaning into the I'm walking away, I'm leaving the table with like the power of storytelling, right? Like and how that feeds our resilience, how stories feed our well-being, how stories and knowing the stories of others' lives can extend and prolong our own lifespan. And I think, learning more about what you have overcome and what you have and how you are transmuting pain into beauty, into power, into resilience, into well-being for those who may be in a season where things are so bleak, so dark
Mm,
that
mm,
our stories might
mm.
be able to offer a glimmer of light, even if it's just for a moment. And I think that is just something that is just so beautiful, and I'm so grateful that I get to be in this space with you, and I'm really, really hopeful, and inspired by what you are building and what you are creating and putting out into the world, and just really honored that I could be part of this in this way.
Yes, and you're my first guest
Ah!
on the planet at the table of redemption. And that is what redemption.
Yeah. Mhm.
Redemption, by definition, there's several definitions. One is the spiritual definition of someone who may have faltered or failed, which to me is the epitome of what one of my professors in a design school called learning from failure. So, redemption, when I speak of it, is those who are learning from failure. If failure, as in an event that happened to you, that failed, not that you failed, but the event in your life made it feel like that. Also, maybe someone have a spiritual practice that they're not following to the T. So they need redemption to return or to buy back or get back. But then in the sports world, redemption is I'm about to win this thing again, baby. Just give me a minute to win it, baby. And I'm telling you right now, if you think I'm fixing to give up on this and on me, on you, you got another thing coming. That's the redemption. Now, pick your redemption, but that's mine. Choose yours. But mine is in this season, the devil really tried to kill me. So if somebody can shut you up, they can actually shut you down.
Ooh,
if they can ever get you to stop telling your story, lights out or church out. It's a real thing.
One more time for the people in the back.
And shut you up. They can actually shut you down. So this is why we have to infuse these podcasts in people's lives. Because even as people are listening and watching, I see people pull over to the side of the road, pulling out pen and paper and say, what did she say? What did Malaika say? What did Rasheen say? What did two generations say to us at one time? What did two Harvard grads say to us at one time in such an humble way? So we have to slow down a minute in order to understand what redemption really is, what's actually taking place here, and how are we going to navigate post the table of redemption, because I'm going to have you back on the table of redemption.
Let's go.
Looking at the next round of redemption.
Listen, and I'm sure we will have, there's so much for us to talk about, so I'm excited. But also just the growth here. Like I'm walking away a different person, looking at the world a little bit differently with, okay, we are all redeemable. Like we are never so far from grace that we can't come back. We are never so far from grace that we can never come back.
Yes, we are all redeemable.
And I hope that's the biggest takeaway. If nothing else, if you didn't hear anything else from my mouth today, know that you are redeemable and you are never so far from grace that you can never come back home.
And it's never too late to start over, ever.
Ever.
I've talked to a woman yesterday who had to leave her spouse, or all those who are in other countries who have to evacuate, or who have been have to have an exodus out of the country because of war. Talking to so many people who lost jobs now with this current administration. You're talking to so many people who have lost so many things. And this podcast is going to sit right in their spirit, right in the depths of their soul, and say, it's never going to be too late for you to start over if that's what needs to be done. Because I was afraid to start over. That's what I was afraid. I was trying to rebuild. So when I said in my video, I came here to learn how to build a school, I'm actually leaving here learning how to rebuild me.
Oh,
that's what this framework is. And I didn't realize it because I was so busy writing it for leaders to bring redemption in what they do down the line, let it trickle down, until I forgot I'm one of those leaders that's doing that work. And so, yeah, I'm here to rebuild me.
Yes.
And so I'm so grateful that you can actually see that, and you can actually frame up the rest of what you're trying to do through this lens of redemption. And bottom line is, I'll see you at the top. So tell us how we can stay in touch with you, any work you're doing, anything we can follow, anything that you would like us to stay connected to what you're doing.
Absolutely. So you can follow me on my Substack, Malaika's Musings. I share about my experience with grief, my experience with life, um, just the things that I'm thinking about, my musings. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn, so you can see a lot of the work that I'm doing. And would love to get connected and see how we might be able to bring joy and imagination to the work that you are doing. And if you want, I'm also on TikTok. Um, my handle is by.malaika with 3 A's at the end, but I'm sure I'll send that information to you and you'll have it in the show notes.
Excellent. Well, everybody, it has been such a pleasure being here with you. And we hope that you have been so inspired and so changed, and also that you have a story to tell. And I'll probably catch you and run you down so you can get on this show and answer this. So, what brings you to the table? The table of redemption. You guys have a great day. Bye bye.
The Table of Redemption podcast disclaimers: views expressed, branding, and mutual benefit. The Table of Redemption podcast is part of the collaborative refinement phase of the Leadership Redemption Framework before it goes to market. This is a research-based initiative led by myself, Rasheen Jamison-Richardson, your host. Guest participation contributes to scholarly exploration through narrative inquiry and receives platform exposure in return. Rasheen, myself, do not receive financial compensation from guest appearances or their affiliated work. This project is not formally endorsed by Harvard University, Harvard Graduate School of Education, or any institution or any sponsorships at this time. Any reference to anyone's brand, including Harvard's brand, are solely based on my academic experiences as a graduate student and now an alumni, and I do not imply institutional affiliation or approval on any of the content that I am producing. This is all my original work, designed, built, and invented by me across a 20-year experience as an educator and practitioner and researcher. All stories remain the intellectual property of the guest and are shared with mutual respect, transparency, and the shared goal of building bridges of hope and redemption in times of crisis. To continue following the Table of Redemption podcast, you may visit www.thetableofredemption.com. You may be able to find our content on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.